The dying plea. The chamber fell silent as Ambassador Kelris spread her feathered wings, the iridescent blue catching the failing light of the council hall. Outside the viewport, another star system flickered and died, consumed by the darkness that had been hunting them for 3 cycles. "They're calling them Reapers now," she said, her voice carrying the melodic quality of her avian species, "because they harvest everything. Life, technology, hope." High Chancellor Vorath, his scaled hide dull with exhaustion, slumped in his seat. 18 systems in 2 months. The Vryn Confederation is gone. The Torathi Empire, gone. We've thrown everything at them. Then we need to look beyond everything, Kelris said quietly. She had been thinking about this for days, turning the idea over in her mind like a dangerous weapon. There are species beyond the Coalition's borders. Young civilizations we've never contacted. Primitives? Vorath's laugh was bitter. What could they offer that we cannot? Kelris moved to the communications array, her taloned hands dancing across the controls. Perhaps nothing. Or perhaps everything. We're dying because we're fighting the way we've always fought. Maybe we need something uncivilized. She activated the broad-spectrum transmitter, sending a signal farther than the Coalition had ever broadcast before. The message was simple, stripped of diplomatic protocol. We are dying. Help us. Across the void on a blue-green world orbiting a yellow star, Captain Marcus Webb stood in the war room beneath the Sierra Nevada mountains. His weathered face reflected the glow of countless screens as Earth's deep space monitoring system registered something impossible. "Sir," the technician's voice cracked. "We're receiving a message. It's from deep space. Really deep." Webb crossed the room in 3 strides. "Origin?" "Best guess? 42,000 light years. The signal's degraded, but I've cleaned it up." She pressed play. The alien voice filled the room, translated by their AI systems, carrying desperation that transcended species. "We are dying. Help us." Dr. Helena Voss entered, her sharp eyes taking in the scene. "Marcus, tell me you're not considering this." "An entire civilization calling for help, Helena. Maybe multiple civilizations. We've barely colonized our own solar system. We have 3 functional warships. 3. Webb's jaw tightened. He'd spent 30 years in uniform, seen wars on 4 continents, lost people he loved to conflicts that seemed meaningless now. But this was different. They're not calling the strong, Helena. They're calling anyone who'll answer. That means they're desperate." He turned to his communications officer. "Send a response. Tell them we heard their call. Tell them we're coming. Marcus, we're going," he said firmly. "Because if we don't, and they fall, whatever killed them will keep spreading. And eventually they'll find Earth." Dr. Voss studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Then we'd better make sure we're ready. Because this isn't a rescue mission." "No," Webb agreed, a grim smile touching his lips. "It's not." 42,000 light-years away, Ambassador Kelris's console chimed. She almost didn't check it, expecting another report of defeat. Instead, 4 words appeared on her screen in a language she didn't know, but the translation was clear. "We are coming." Her wings trembled. Hope, terrible and fragile, bloomed in her chest. The long journey. The Valkyrie cut through the darkness like a shard of Earth's determination. 6 months into their journey, the human fleet had become a small city in motion. 3 warships, 2 supply vessels, and 15,000 souls traveling toward a war they'd only heard about through desperate transmissions. Lieutenant Jade Reeves floated in the observation deck, watching the stars streak past in their FTL bubble. She'd been a fighter pilot before volunteering for this mission, running from a past that included too many losses and too much guilt. Out here, light years from Earth, maybe she could finally matter. "You come here often?" The voice was musical, unfamiliar. Jade turned to find Ambassador Kelris perched on a railing, her wings folded elegantly. The avian ambassador had boarded at the rendezvous point 3 months ago, a liaison between humanity and the Coalition. She was beautiful in an alien way. Feathers that shifted from blue to silver, eyes like polished amber. Every night shift, Jade admitted. "You? I find human ships comforting. You build them like fortresses. My people built ours like poems." Kelris's voice carried sadness. "The Reapers preferred the poems." Jade moved closer, magnetic boots clicking softly. "Tell me about your world." Over the next hour, Kelris described Ethan, cities built in massive trees, sky songs at dawn, a culture devoted to art and philosophy. Jade shared stories of Earth, of mountains and oceans, of humanity's bloody history and desperate hope. "You've seen so much war," Kelris said softly, her feathered hand reaching out tentatively. "Does it ever stop hurting?" Jade took her hand, surprised by its warmth. "No, but you learn to carry it differently." Their fingers intertwined, human skin against feathered scales. Something passed between them, understanding beyond words. In the engineering bay, Thomas Crane wiped grease from his weathered hands. 60 years old, he'd maintained ships through 3 major conflicts. "She's holding together," he told Captain Webb, "but these sustained FTL burns. We're pushing her harder than she was designed for." Webb nodded. "How much harder can she take?" "Depends on what we find when we get there." Crane's expression darkened. "Captain, I've been monitoring Coalition transmissions. Whatever these Reapers are, they're not stopping. We might be flying into something even Earth's best can't handle." "Then we make ourselves better than our best," Webb said simply. Dr. Voss spent her days analyzing every scrap of data about the Reapers. Their ships were organic-mechanical hybrids, their tactics overwhelming and brutal. But there were patterns. They preferred psychological warfare, breaking enemy morale before destroying them. "They're hunters," she told Webb one evening. "They enjoy the fear." "Then they've never hunted humans," Webb replied. "We're the species that looked at the food chain and decided we belonged at the top." In her quarters, Jade lay awake, thinking about Kelris. They'd been meeting every night, sharing stories, fears, touches that grew longer each time. It was complicated, impossible even. 2 species, 2 worlds, thrown together by catastrophe. Her door chimed. Kelris stood in the corridor, wings tucked tight with nervousness. "I couldn't sleep," the ambassador said quietly. Jade stepped aside, letting her in. They sat on the narrow bunk, shoulders touching. "When this is over," Kelris whispered, "if we survive, what happens to us?" Jade took her hand again. "I don't know, but I know I want to find out." Kelris leaned against her, and Jade wrapped an arm around those delicate shoulders. They sat in the darkness, 2 souls finding warmth against the cold void outside. The fleet traveled on through the night between stars, carrying Earth's answer to the galaxy's dying plea. Behind them, humanity held its breath. Ahead, the Reapers waited, unknowing that something new was coming, something that didn't know how to surrender. First blood. The proximity alarm screamed through the Valkyrie as the fleet dropped out of FTL at the Thresh system's edge. Captain Webb's hands gripped his command chair as the view screen resolved into clarity. "Dear God," someone whispered. The system was dying. 3 planets burned, their atmospheres stripped away. Debris fields stretched for millions of kilometers, the remains of the Coalition's defense fleet. And moving through it all, like sharks through blood-soaked water, were the Reapers. Commander Asha Okafor's dark eyes tracked the enemy vessels on tactical. 18 capital ships, hundreds of smaller craft. They're harvesting the colony world. The Reaper ships were nightmares made real. Biomechanical monstrosities that pulsed with sickly light, trailing tendrils that latched onto debris, consuming it. Their hulls bore symbols that hurt to look at. "Captain, they've detected us," Asha reported. "They're turning." Webb's voice cut through the tension. "All ships, battle formation Sierra 7. Weapons free. Let's show them what Earth means by we're coming." The human fleet moved with predatory precision. Unlike the elegant maneuvers of Coalition forces, they advanced in a tight wedge, overlapping fields of fire, every ship protecting its neighbors. Warlord Nexum observed the newcomers from his command throne. The entity that had once been biological now existed as something else. Consciousness merged with machine, hunger made manifest. These new ships were small, crude, unimportant. "Consume them," he commanded. The Reapers struck first, energy weapons lancing across space. But the human ships didn't dodge gracefully. They took the hits on reinforced armor, absorbed damage that would have crippled Coalition vessels, and kept coming. "Return fire," Webb ordered calmly. The Valkyrie spoke with humanity's voice. Railguns hurled tungsten slugs at relativistic speeds. Missiles accelerated on chemical rockets, primitive but devastatingly effective. Nuclear-tipped torpedoes, weapons the Coalition had abandoned centuries ago as barbaric. 3 Reaper ships simply ceased to exist. Torn apart by weapons that didn't rely on shields or energy fields. just raw kinetic force and atomic fire. Nexum felt something he hadn't experienced in millennia: surprise. In the fighter bay, Jade strapped into her cockpit. "Phoenix Squadron on me. Let's give them a warm Earth welcome." Her squadron launched into the maelstrom. Human fighters were brutal things: heavy armor, powerful guns, and pilots who flew like they had nothing to lose. Jade wove through Reaper formations, her targeting computer singing as missiles found homes. "These things bleed," her wingman called out.
"They actually bleed."
Jade grinned savagely. "Then let's make them bleed more." On the bridge, Asha coordinated the assault with cold precision. She'd studied every battle the Coalition had lost, identified every mistake. "Target their communication nodes. Make them deaf. Make them isolated." The human fleet moved like wolves, separating targets, overwhelming them with concentrated fire. Where Coalition forces had tried to match the Reaper's elegance, humanity brought something older, pack hunting refined over millions of years. Kelrus watched from the observation deck, her wings trembling. She'd seen dozens of battles against the Reapers. All had ended in retreat or annihilation. But this was different. The humans fought with a ferocity that bordered on joy, as if they'd been waiting their entire existence for an enemy worth fighting. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, 12 Reaper ships were destroyed, the rest retreating in disarray. The human fleet had taken damage. The Valkyrie's port side was scorched black. 2 fighters hadn't returned, but they held the field. Across the Coalition networks, 1 billion beings watched in stunned silence. The humans had done the impossible. They'd made the Reapers run. In his command throne, Warlord Nexum studied these newcomers with new interest. They fought like the ancient ones, before the galaxy learned civilization. They fought like predators. For the first time, he felt something approaching respect and hunger. The turning tide, the Coalition designated Outpost Meridian as humanity's forward base, a massive station orbiting a neutron star, its corridors now bustling with human engineers and medics. Victory at Thresh had changed everything. Species that barely acknowledged Earth's existence now studied humanity, with mixture of fear and desperate hope. Jade found Kelrus on an observation platform overlooking the station's central hub, watching hundreds of Coalition refugees process through checkpoints. "Your people saved 6,000 civilians from Thresh," Kelrus said softly. 6,000 souls who would have died. Jade moved beside her, their shoulders touching in the way that had become natural. "It's not enough. The Reapers are still out there, but now we know they can be hurt." Kelrus turned, her amber eyes intense. "Do you understand what you've given us? Hope. We'd forgotten what it felt like." The station trembled slightly as another ship docked. Around them, the galaxy was mobilizing. Coalition forces were studying human tactics, retrofitting their elegant ships with humanity's brutal efficiency. "Come with me," Jade said suddenly, taking Kelrus's hand. "I want to show you something." She led the ambassador through corridors to her quarters, a small space made personal with photos of Earth, an old guitar in the corner. "This is the first place that's felt like home in years." Kelrus stepped inside, wings rustling with nervousness. "Why show me this?" "Because you've shown me yours. Your world, your pain, your hope." Jade moved closer, her heart pounding. "Because when I think about what happens after this war, I see you." "Jade." Kelrus's voice trembled. "We're so different. We're not that different. Not where it matters." Jade reached up, gently touching the side of Kelrus's face, feeling soft feathers against her palm. "Tell me you don't feel this too." Kelrus's response was to close the distance between them, their lips meeting in a kiss that bridged worlds. They moved together slowly, exploring this new territory with the same courage that had brought them both here. Jade's hands traced the elegant curve of Kelrus's wings, and the ambassador made a soft sound of pleasure. Kelrus's hands found the places where Jade was most human, most vulnerable. They undressed each other carefully, learning each other's bodies in the dim light. Different, yes, but compatible in ways that went deeper than biology. When they came together, it was tender and urgent, an affirmation of life against the darkness pressing at the edges of the galaxy. Afterward, they lay tangled in Jade's narrow bunk, her fingers tracing patterns through Kelrus's feathers. "My people will be shocked," Kelrus murmured against Jade's shoulder.
"Interspecies relations are uncommon. Let them be shocked."
I'm done living my life for other people's expectations. Jade kissed her forehead. Besides, we just proved humans and your people can work together. Might as well prove we can love together too. Kelris laughed, the sound like wind chimes. You're impossible. You should see me fly. In Dr. Voss's laboratory, breakthrough arrived at 300 hours. She'd been analyzing Reaper biology from the Thresh battle, comparing it with Coalition data. The answer had been hidden in plain sight. She burst into Webb's ready room without knocking. They're parasites. The Reapers. They're not a species. They're an infection. Webb looked up from tactical reports. Explain. They consume technology and biology, merging with it, corrupting it. But there's a core, an original host species that started all this. If we can identify it, isolate it, we can kill the source. Webb's eyes gleamed. How long to develop a weapon? With Coalition biotech and human ingenuity? 3 weeks, maybe less. High Chancellor Vorath visited the human ships personally, his skepticism from months ago replaced with desperate respect. Your species has given us more hope in one battle than we've had in a year. The Coalition formally requests Earth join our alliance. Captain Webb considered this carefully. With full voting rights? And Earth maintains command of its own forces? Agreed. They shook, scaled hand meeting human palm, a gesture that would echo through history. The tide was turning. Retribution's dawn. The Reaper's central hive hung in the darkness between galaxies, a structure the size of a moon built from the corpses of 1,000 worlds. It pulsed with malevolent life, organic metal fused into impossible architecture. This was where Warlord Nexum commanded his harvest, where the infection that had become the Reapers first took root, and this was where humanity decided to end it. The combined fleet numbered 300 ships, human warships reinforced by Coalition forces now fighting with Earth's savage doctrine. They dropped out of FTL in a sphere around the hive, cutting off all escape routes. All ships. Captain Webb's voice carried across the fleet network. This is where it ends. Not because we're the strongest or the oldest or the wisest, but because we're the ones who showed up. Let's finish this, for Earth, for the Coalition, for every world the Reapers stole. The hive opened like a flower of death, releasing thousands of Reaper ships. The battle began. Jade led Phoenix Squadron in the first wave, her fighters screaming through the chaos. The bioweapon Dr. Voss had designed was loaded in her bomber's payload, a virus that would target the original Reaper DNA, unraveling the infection from its source. Phoenix Lead, you need to get that package to the hive's core. Asha's voice crackled in her ear. We're tracking a thermal vent 3 kilometers down. It leads directly to Nexum's chamber. Copy that. Jade banked hard, Reaper fire scorching past her canopy. Phoenix Squadron, form up. We're going in deep. Kelris sat in the communications center aboard the Valkyrie, coordinating Coalition forces while tracking Jade's fighter. Every instinct screamed for her to call Jade back, to keep her safe. Instead, she did her job because that's what Jade would do. I'm here, Kelris whispered into their private channel. Come back to me. Always, Jade replied, then dove into the hive's maw. The interior was a nightmare, organic corridors that writhed and pulsed, automatic defenses that seemed almost alive. Half her squadron didn't make it past the first kilometer. She kept going, pushing her fighter beyond its limits, because Earth's children didn't stop when things got hard. In his throne chamber, Warlord Nexum felt them coming. One fighter, carrying something that made his stolen flesh crawl with instinctive fear. He opened a communication channel, his voice echoing through Jade's cockpit. Little predator. You fight well. Join us. Become something greater than flesh. I am flesh, Jade snarled back. And that's greater than anything you could ever understand. She released the weapon. The virus spread through the hive's systems like wildfire, targeting the genetic markers Dr. Voss had isolated. The Reaper infection began to unravel, the stolen biology rejecting the parasitic consciousness that had controlled it for millennia. Nexum screamed, a sound that carried through quantum channels, felt by every Reaper across the galaxy. His empire of stolen flesh was dying, returning to its original forms, the merger breaking apart. Pull back. Webb ordered the fleet. All ships, emergency FTL now! Jade's fighter burst from the hive as it began to collapse, massive structures breaking apart. She punched into FTL just as the hive detonated, a blast wave that would be visible from neighboring galaxies. When the Valkyrie recovered her, Kelris was waiting in the hangar bay. They ran to each other, crashing together in an embrace that felt like coming home. "You did it," Kelrus whispered, feathers ruffling against Jade's helmet. "You saved us." "We saved each other," Jade corrected, pulling back to meet those amber eyes. "That's what partners do." In the weeks that followed, as the galaxy began to rebuild, humanity took its place among the stars. Not as saviors or conquerors, but as equals. Earth's embassy opened on Ethon, and Kelrus took her post as ambassador there, with Lieutenant Jade Reeves assigned as her security chief. Captain Webb stood with Dr. Voss on the observation deck of the newly christened Meridian Station, watching Coalition and human ships patrol together. "Think we're ready for the galaxy?" Voss asked. "I think the galaxy better be ready for us," Webb replied with a slight smile. "We're not going anywhere." Somewhere in the ruins of the hive, fragments of Nexum's consciousness drifted in the void, warning unheard, the humans are not prey. They are not victims. They are the species that answered a dying galaxy's call and brought not mercy, but retribution. Remember them, fear them, but the galaxy no longer needed to fear. Earth had come when called, fought when needed, and stayed when the battle was won. And in a small apartment on Ethon, Jade and Kelrus watched the sunset together. Two souls from different worlds who had found each other in the darkness and chosen to build something beautiful. The galaxy had screamed for help. Humanity had answered with fire. And now, together they would rebuild with hope.